My name's Pat and I'm one of the educators at the Yarra Junction Occasional Care. I'm doing these videos for the Cire Kids Hub, and I'm hoping that a lot of my children that I've been missing a whole heap will get to see these activities and be able to do them at home. So the first activity I want to bring is actually a story. My group of children last year made some worry dolls because one of the children in my class was really worried about something that was happening to her at the time. And I thought this would be a really good opportunity to bring the activity and the story about the worry dolls, given the circumstances that we're all living in right now. So I'm going to begin with the story about the worry dolls and how it came about. So worrying is nothing new in the world. Everybody in the world worries at some time. Generations ago, in the indigenous populations of Guatemala, they created worry dolls as a remedy to the stress of worrying. These tiny little dolls were handcrafted, generally made of woven fabric or wool, sticks, and things that could be found around in the community. And they were held together with little bits of wire, and they were only just 2 inches tall. And quite often the parents would help make these little dolls with their children. And the story goes that these little dolls, you could talk to these little dolls before you went to bed at night. You could tell the dolls all your little troubles and worries, and then the doll would take on these worries, and the little doll would then be put under the pillow at night, and the child would then be able to sleep easily with no troubles because their little dolly had taken their worries away. So today I'm going to tell you the traditional story from the Guatemalan people, and this is a story that they tell their children from when they were very little, and nearly all little children would have these little tiny little worry dolls. And the story goes like this. In the hills of Guatemala there lived an old man, his daughter Flora, and Flora's 2 children, Maria and Diego. Their home was a small hut made of mud and wood. The grandfather was a farmer, as many of his father's ancestors were, and he taught his own family to be a farmer. One year there was a terrible drought. Without enough rain, the crops dwindled and they had very little food. The whole family would wake up with the sun and tend to the fields in the hope that the rains would come. Then Maria and Diego would go to school for the day. At night, Flora would make tortillas for dinner with what corn they had left, and then she would weave wonderful, beautiful fabrics to sell at the market. The grandfather would tell the children stories before tucking them into their beds at night. One of the children's favourite tale was about a magical doll that could grant wishes. One night, a burglar snuck in and stole all of Flora's cloth, everything that she had worked so hard to make for many months. She cried that she had nothing to sell at the market and didn't know how the family would get money. The next day, Flora came down with a fever, and Maria knew she had to do something to help. Then she had an idea. She went through her mother's weaving basket and found scraps of fabric in odd colours and shapes. She brought the baskets outside and told her brother to collect some small twigs for her. With the scraps of cloth and the twigs, Diego and Maria set to work. They worked late into the night and they kept their project a secret. When they ran out of cloth, they saw that they had made dozens of tiny little dolls. Mary hoped that these dolls would be magical, like the ones in her grandfather's story. That night, Maria lined up a few of the dolls and spoke to them of her worries. My little friends, we need your help. My family is in trouble. The fields are dry. My mother is sick, and we have no food for money. Please help us. Good night. She placed the dolls lovingly under her pillow, and she lay down to sleep. Maria slept well that night, confident that the little dolls would somehow help her. In the morning, Maria and Diego packed up the dolls and walked a long way to the market. The family was so poor, the children didn't even have sandals on their feet. They had to walk barefoot. Then they finally got to the market. They found it was crowded with lots of people. They had never sold anything at the market before, and Maria had never seen anyone else sell tiny little dolls. But she was determined to stick to her plan, and she was sure that it would work. The two finally found a good spot next to a shoe seller. Maria and Diego laid the dolls on the sidewalk. The shoe seller saw them and wondered why anyone would want such tiny dolls. Maria explained that there was magic in these dolls. The shoe seller laughed and said the magic in his shoes didn't help him to sell. Maria was firm and said, "We shall see." The day wore on, but no one brought the little dolls. The children were becoming sad and worried. As Maria was packing up the dolls to go home, a man in fine clothes and a large hat came by and asked what they were selling. Diego piped up, "These little dolls." "Magic dolls," Maria corrected her brother. The man looked impressed. "Well, I could use a little magic. I'll take them all," he said. Maria and Diego excitedly wrapped up the little dolls for the man, who handed them a stack of money without even asking the price. Maria thanked him, and the man was gone before Maria could say anything more. She counted the money and found there was enough for the family to live on for a whole year. The two bought some food at the market and then excitedly headed home to tell their mother and grandfather. "We sold the dolls we made," Diego exclaimed. "Magic dolls," Maria emphasized, and she told them the whole story. "This doesn't sound like any magic," Flora said to her children. "It sounds like you worked really hard and it paid off." "Ah," the grandfather chimed in, "but you are feeling much better, Flora. How do you explain that?" "And look, it's raining." Diego jumped up and he pointed out to the field. Sure enough, It was raining and the fields were getting the water that they needed. The drought was over. That night, as Maria got ready for bed, she noticed something in her pocket. She reached in to find a pouch, and it contained the same little doll that she had slept with under her pillow the night before. She was surprised. She was sure she had sold all of the dolls. Inside the pouch was a little note that read, "Tell these dolls your secret wishes. Tell them your problems. Tell them your dreams. And when you awake, you may find the magic within you to make your dreams come true." So now we're going to be making our worry dolls. Now the things that you will need to make your worry doll is some scrap bits of wool. I've got some wooden beads here, all different sizes because you might want a bigger head or a smaller head, so whichever one you want. I also have a pair of scissors for cutting the wool, and I have some pipe clingers because these are going to be for the body. The first thing we need to do is we need to just fold our pipe clinger in half. So joining the two ends together sort of makes like a tear, and then just bringing it all the way down and just squishing the end just like that, so that you've got your pipe clinger just folded directly in half. So you pop the bent end right through the hole and push him all the way through. Now you open that up just a little because we have to do the hair first. And I'm just going to roll out the coloured balls of wool. I'm going to cut 10 pieces of wool. Now I'm going to have long hair, and it's good to start with long hair because when you've done the hair you can decide to cut it shorter if you want. Then you've got a choice at the end, and you'll understand when we get further down the track of making our little dolls. So I'm going to cut this to about maybe about 15 centimetres, about half a ruler that you would use at school. All right. So I'm going to just join all these together now at the end in my fingers. You can see how I'm joining them all together so they're all the same length. So now you've got your strands of wool, and this is how we're going to make the head. Get our little dolly shape here. See this hole here? We're going to put all those strands through the hole. And then when you get about halfway, so it has to be the same amount on each side. You want the same length on each side. Once you get to there, then you can pull the pipe clinger through until it's really tight, and just make sure that each side's about the same. You can measure them together by just pulling them like that. Mine are pretty good at the moment. So I'm just going to pull that now really tight. And you pull the tight pipe clinger. Now with this much hair, there's no way you're going to be able to pull the pipe clinger through the bead, so you're going to be safe. From here you can sort of just mess the hair up a little bit, and you can see now we've got a pipe clinger with a little head. Okay, now this is probably the tricky bit, and this is probably where you're going to need a little bit of help from an adult. But we're going to fashion 2 little arms and 2 little legs. So I just pull them apart a little bit, the 2 pipe clingers, and maybe about 1 centimetre you want to bring up as if you're making an arm, fold it back down so you've got this little shape here, and you've still got this leg here sticking down for now, but we're going to add to that in a moment. And once you've got this shape, then we're going to do the same on the other side. And then they'll sort of join a little bit. So you'll have a little body. And just do your best. You might have slightly longer arms, you might have a slightly longer body, you might have slightly longer legs, but it is important that it's doubled, so you come backwards and forwards. As I said, if you need help, get an adult to give you a hand. So I'm going to use some wool, and I'm going to choose a colour. I might use a bright yellow so you can see it very easily. I'm just going to put my little dolly here, starting to take shape. And get some yellow. Now with the yellow wool, we're going to start, it's a little bit hard to, I'm hoping you'll be able to see this. I'm going to start by just putting a little bit of the thread across the front of the body of the doll. And we're going to sort of put it over the shoulders on a diagonal. Don't know if you can see that. And then go around the middle, and then come over the hand and go in the opposite direction. So you're sort of making a cross with the wool. And I'm just going to snip a length. Make sure you've got a length, because now, so that we can tie it off, I've found that if you just tie a knot, it's not strong enough. It can unravel later on. So the best thing to do is to make sure to see if mum's got a darning needle. This one's actually a special children's one. It's made of plastic, so it's totally safe. But if you ask mum and see if she's got a darning needle, it has to have a nice big eye here, so that we can thread the wool, or a wool needle. So then what I do is I just pop the darning needle into the wool body, and I bring it through first. Almost looks like a sword. And then I bring my end of my thread through the eye of the needle. Oh, having a bit of trouble here. There we go. Try that, Pat. There we go. And then once you have it through the eye, then just pull the needle through, all the way through, and then bring the thread right out. Oh, it's got caught. There we go. And once you've done that, that secures the thread so it doesn't come undone. Okay, so then we get a little snip at the top. And there we have. Okay, so from here, this little guy, he needs a base. How's that? So now when you've completed your little worry doll, you can tell your little doll all your troubles, all your worries, and then at night time you can tuck your little worry doll, pop him under your pillow, and then that'll save you having to worry about all your troubles. And then hopefully in the morning when you wake up, you'll feel a whole lot better, less stressed, less worried, and maybe the magic might have worked for you.